All right, good evening, everyone. I would like to call tonight's meeting of the Fall River Historical Commission into order. It is Tuesday, November 26th, 2024. It is 6:11 p.m. This meeting is a hybrid meeting, so the board is here in person at Government Center. We do have attendees attending via Zoom. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. I got a roll call, please.
Yes, Joyce Rodrick's present.
Connie Soul, present.
Rick Mancini, present.
Jason Bouchard-Naraki, present.
Elizabeth DeBlock, present.
John Limo, present.
Ashley DeCunha, present.
Thank you, everyone. We do not have any open seats. Let's see. First on the agenda, we have the minutes the special meeting from November 4th, 2024 that Liz emailed to everyone. Did everyone have a chance to look at that?
Yeah.
And I do have all in your packets, everything is numbered as well in the top right corner.
I'll make a motion that we accept the November 4th minute meetings.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion by Rick, seconded by John, for the minutes from November 4th. Roll call votes. Joyce?
Yes, accept the minutes.
Connie?
Yes.
Rick?
Rick Mancini, yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard-Naraki, yes. Thank you. All right, item number, do we have any citizens input tonight? Okay. We do have on item number 2, we have a notice of intent to demolish. This is the barn located at 72 Belmont Street.
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes.
gonna have to recuse myself from this.
Okay,
Right.
all right, thank you. We'll just make a note that Rick is stepping up. Item number 2 is a demolition permit request for 72 Belmont Street, the barn located at the Chauncey Sears House, which is located in the Highlands National Register District. We have a representative from the ownership of the property. They are requesting a waiver of the demolition bylaw to waive the 6-month delay on the barn itself. If you can state your name and your affiliation, please.
Yeah, Brian Corley, property manager, Tetra Real Estate.
Thank you. And thank you. I did receive from Carrie in the licensing office the copy of the permit. So the intent is to demolish the barn. Will there be any replacement of the structure, or at this point it's just to demolish the barn?
Basically, we're almost complete with the renovations in the 3-family there at 72 Belmont. We expect to have them listed for rent in December. And just with the condition of the barn, we'd like to demolish it and we're going to add some parking in there as well.
Okay. Okay. You did go before the ZBA to have we did meet with you before to have for a letter of support regarding the conversion of the barn into a multifamily, and that was denied by the ZBA, as well as the subdivision of the property. But at this point, are you familiar with the structure and its condition? Okay. Okay. All right, so they're seeking a waiver of the 6-month.
Delay.
Yep. So otherwise, if there's no requirement for them to come before us unless they're seeking a waiver, but the demolition bylaw includes any structure in whole or part thereof of a property, so the barn is considered. But it is, once the foliage came down, it was pretty in rough shape, I think.
Yeah.
Is there any questions on the request to waive the 6-month?
No, I don't. I don't have any questions.
No.
I don't.
No. Okay. Okay. All right. So there's. If there's
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to approve the waiver.
Alright, I have a motion by Ashley,
I'll second the motion.
seconded by Elizabeth to waive the 6-month delay. Alright, and make it a roll call. Joyce,
Yes.
Connie,
Yes.
Connie?
Yeah, oh jeez.
oh, it might be working now. Elizabeth,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Alright, thank you, Brian. I will send the waiver over to you, and that can be provided to the building department so you can proceed with your demolition plans.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 3, under correspondences, this is actually a rather exciting one. We received on November 19th, 2024, communication from the National Park Service, from the Department of the Interior, confirming our status as a certified local government. So our application was approved and we are now, it was instant on the 19th. This was addressed to Brona Simon, the State Historic Preservation Officer and Executive Director of the Mass Historical Commission. And this is from Megan Brown, who's the Chief State, Tribal, Local Plans and Grants Acting Certified Local Government Coordinator. Dear Brona Simon, thank you for forwarding the necessary documentation concerning the City of Fall River's application for participation in the Certified Local Government Program. We have reviewed your submission and are pleased to concur in your recommendation that the City of Fall River be certified as provided for in the National Historic Preservation Act, 54 U.S.C. Chapter 3025. The date of certification will be recorded as the date of this letter. We are also providing a copy of this letter to the City of Fall River. We welcome the City of Fall River as a local partner in the Federal Preservation Program and look forward to working with them to preserve what makes their community special and significant. They have been added to our CLG database and can find their listing there, as well as more information on the CLG program by going to their website. If you have any questions about this letter, please feel free to contact me by email. Sincerely, Megan J. Brown. So that is one big project done.
Congrats.
Thank you everyone for all of your work
All
on that.
good work. Yeah,
It is
congratulations.
excellent news.
Dancing in the streets tonight.
I know, that's good. Out of the, how many hundreds of communities in the city, there are only 31. We are the 31st community in Massachusetts for that, for the CLG program.
That's awesome.
There are 371 cities and towns in the state of Massachusetts.
And only
We're
31,
only 31.
only 31 have that. So item number 4, we have, so I received a request for a temporary staircase to the entrance of 710 High Street. We did review that application at our special meeting. They have actually provided updated drawings to me as of this morning. I will send those to you. But they needed a means of egress to the front. So because of the way that the ordinance is written, a temporary structure is excluded from our purview. And any exclusions, a certificate of non-applicability is issued. So I did provide the letter that I gave to the building department and to the homeowner, Mr. Vargas, regarding that exclusion, so he has a second means of egress to access his front door. But we will be meeting with him soon in the future regarding plans for the rebuilding of the porch. Are there any questions on that at all? No. Okay. Thank you. Item number 5, this is we have under new business, a letter of support request for the BMC Durfee Trust building, also known as the Durfee Block at 80 to 84 North Main Street. This is a support letter for Community Preservation Act rent funding. And I believe we have, Ken, you're representing that project?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And you can just state your name and your affiliation, please.
Sure. My name is Ken Viola. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Bristol County EDC, and I am the owner's representative for this particular request for a letter of support. As you probably know, and I believe you probably have the letter that was sent to the chairman, seeking this letter of support, but essentially
downtown Fall River Historic District. And it's a building that's been somewhat vacant for a number of years, and Mr. Ferris is moving forward with its restoration. Ultimately, it'll be used for housing within the downtown area. The project itself has received Mass Historic Commission approval as well as National Park Service approval for the issuance of historic tax credits for the rehab of the property in accordance with heretofore approved designs that was submitted to both of those entities. The request for the CPA is one for historic preservation, and it mainly centers around funding for the windows. There's 132 windows within the property itself, so you can imagine the cost of the windows and replication and installation clearly exceeds $500,000. We're hoping that some of the money or some of that cost will be offset through some CPC funding. The application is due in December, and as a component of the application, they're requesting that we have a letter of support from your committee, and that's essentially what I'm here for tonight, is seeking support for that letter. So,
Thank you, Ken. So in the packet of the material, there are the two longer sheets that I provided that have the renderings with the window specs. Ken, thank you so much for sending over the material. All of the windows will be consistent with the Secretary of the Interior standards.
that is correct.
They will be,
Yep.
okay. And I believe they are aluminum. I think I saw that. Yeah. Okay. Which is
Yeah, as you can imagine, it's difficult to get a 100% exact replica. So,
Yeah.
the windows that will for you, the spec sheet that's before you is the spec sheet that most closely represents the original windows and has been approved by both the DMTS and Massachusetts.
okay. 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 Are there any questions regarding the specs for the windows? It's pretty detailed. And has work started on the building yet? Do you know, Ken?
So they've received some UPD funding in the past. So they had to replace the roof because the roof was compromised and it was leaking. So there's been some roof work that's done. They've done a little asbestos removal. But there's been no hardcore construction on the interior of the property itself. They are in receipt of the second UPD grant from EOHLC, and they will be moving forward with some additional environmental cleanup and remediation of the property itself.
Okay. All right.
So your letter, Ken, is just looking for support of windows at this point? The letter from this
That is
commission?
correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. Yeah, that's what's going to go before the CPC committee. That's what's going to be part of the application. Correct.
Okay. This question, I guess, is maybe not applicable to us at this time, but after investigation, was there any structural damage when that roof leaked and caused a little collapse?
To the best of my knowledge, there hasn't been. In reviewing the overall project plan, the specs that there doesn't seem to be any compromise to the structural integrity of the building. Thankfully, these buildings, when it was constructed, we believe it was constructed, back in the late 1800s. 1905. 1887 expanded to 1905 as well as 1933. Those buildings are really solid, so the structural integrity of those buildings have been maintained, so there's nothing there that's going to prevent the rehab of the buildings at this point.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Before we proceed, Gary, are you able to turn your volume up?
Yeah, I just don't want feedback, so if you wanna get off the phone.
I will do that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Sorry, we had some AV connection issues. Ken, can you
Hello, I
still
think
hear
I
us?
lost you.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Ken, can you hear us?
Nope.
All right.
So he could only hear us through your phone.
Yeah. All right. Gary, if you can turn your volume down so there's no interference, that would be great.
Meeting ID followed by pound.
I do apologize about this.
You have not entered.
Don't give me a chance.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press. There are 3 participants in the meeting.
Okay, Ken, we're back. Sorry.
Okay, yep, I get you now, sorry.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. Are there any questions for Ken regarding the specs? This is a letter of support for Windows. For CPA funding for the Windows. I don't have any.
No further questions.
Okay.
I think.
I'll make a motion to provide the letter of support.
I'll second that motion.
All right. So I have a motion by Elizabeth, seconded by Connie for letter of support in regards to item number 5. Make it a roll call, please. Joyce?
Yes.
Connie?
Yes.
Rick?
Rick Mancini, yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Ken, I'll have that over to you. I'm going to be sending out letters tonight because of the holiday, and I know everything's due on Monday, so you'll be getting your letter tonight.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure, thank you. And you are presenting, I believe, from item number 6. So item number 6 is regarding the Coughlin School at 1975 Pleasant Street, a letter of support request for CPA grant funding for, I think in the letter is the HVAC.
Yes.
Yes,
So,
okay.
again, once again, Ken, for the record, Ken Viola, Executive Vice President, Bristol County EDC. I'm here on behalf of the St. John's Holy Ghost Association, which is the primary tenant and the owner of the building itself. So as you may recall, just by way of background, I think for those that are familiar with the Coughlin School, the school itself is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It was designed by Frank Irving Cooper and constructed in 1893 in the Romanesque revival style. It was one of 9 grammar schools constructed in Fall River during the 1890s and named after John Coughlin, who served as the mayor from 1890 to 1893. Back in September 2015, there was a pending sale of Coughlin School to a private developer, which was terminated as a result of an arson-related fire to the school, which caused smoke and water damage throughout the building and structural damage to the multi-sided roof. In August 2016, the City Council put the Coughlin School out to bid again, and then the nonprofit St. John's Holy Ghost Association was the winning bidder and agreed to secure the building and put a new roof on within 60 days from taking ownership, which they did. From 2016 to present, the Holy Ghost Association has replaced the roof and made other improvements throughout the building to accommodate a stated proposed use as office space for the club, a community food pantry, restaurant, and a function hall. So they are currently going before the CTC committee for funding under the historic preservation category to install a sprinkler system, which will allow the use of the basement and the first floor of the building for club use, dinners, and community kitchen needs. Then once they get up and running, the revenues generated by the fundraisers and club dinners and functions will be utilized for future window replacements, as well as the placement of an elevator within the building, which will allow for community use of the second floor. So this project here, I think, is one that's a little bit outside of the norm that you would see, in the sense that it's being submitted here by a nonprofit organization. It's one of these crawl. You got to be able to, crawl and then walk and then run. They spent a lot of money since 2016, making sure that the roof was repaired, and making other improvements within the building so that it can become more functional. But the next step of functionality is the securement of CPC funding for a sprinkler system, which will then allow them to use the building itself for the stated purposes. The building itself will be fully sprinkled, but they will not be able to use the second floor until they get the elevator in place. So right now they're looking for a letter of support from the committee so that they can move forward with their application to the CPC, hopefully receive some, if not all, of the money necessary for the fire suppression system, the sprinkler system.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ken regarding this? So they moved through the first eligibility with CPC. And I mean, suppression systems are themselves extremely costly, and especially for a building like that where it's a combination of brick and stone and for nonprofits. So this is exactly why we have the CPA program in Fall Rivers for situations like this. Any questions at all?
No.
No. Okay. So this is for a letter of support.
I'll make a motion,
Okay.
provide a letter.
Okay. I have a motion by Ashley for a letter of support for the Coughlin School.
I'll second the motion.
Elizabeth, thank you. All right, I have a motion by Ashley, seconded by Elizabeth for a letter of support in regards to item number 6. Roll call votes. Joyce?
Yes.
Connie?
Yes.
Rick?
Rick Mancini, yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Ken, thank you very much. I will have that over to you again this evening.
Really, thank you very much, and happy to talk with you guys. Thank you very much.
You too. Thank you. Happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
And you also.
Thank you.
All right, so next on item number 7, we have a request for a letter of support for Community Preservation Act grant funding for 1270 to 1288 Pleasant Street. This is the Greenie Building. Just move my paperwork over, and there was in your packet of material, there are a few attachments. There is the letter to the building commissioner, plans, the application to the CPA eligibility, as well as the renderings that show present state versus the proposed rendering of the storefronts. So thank you. There's a lot of material, but this is excellent. If you can state your name and your how you're affiliated, please.
Armando Pereira, Comprehensive Design Build Services. I'm here representing the owner on this project. I'm the designer. So we've got a building that's actually on Mackerson, also National Register. This building has had the storefronts where they were being used in multiple years. They have different types of tenants in there. We've got 9 existing buildings between address 1270 to 1280, which we're looking to bring back as far as the residential. And address 1288 was actually the Knights of Columbus way back when. And we've taken that building, the design of that area and that portion of the building where we're looking to do 2 handicap units on the lower level. We're looking to do 6 studio apartments on the 2nd floor. And on the 3rd floor, we're looking to do loft, 1-bedroom loft units. So we're looking to add a total of 12 regular units up above and 2 down below. So we're looking to add 14 units. Building has some damage. It's been, obviously, you can see that, the windows are broken. We've got some water coming in, so we've got some damage going on in the structure. So we're looking for preservation and for also community housing funding. We're looking for a letter of support so that we can get this back up. Save a building that's, historical value in that area, and also to be able to provide housing, which is something that's needed right across the whole state and the country at this point. So we'd like to get the letter of support so we can move on to the next phase.
If you, just remind us, so the ground floor, the proposal for the ground floor, there will be retail involved too, or is it strictly all residential?
Nope, we're looking to take where the cafe was, right up almost to the last unit,
Yep.
to bring back and keep the storefronts, so we
Okay.
can make that back to what it was. It
Okay.
served as multiple purposes.
So, a mixed use building essentially?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I mean, we're taking the advantage of the theater that's over there to make it into more housing, which I think is something that's needed, and I think will benefit the neighborhood and the city.
Okay, okay. Let me just turn this on, sorry. All right, is there any questions for him at all regarding this?
Yeah, the only question I've got is that you show the south elevation, and nice job where you're bringing back the original, the 4/4s and the 8s on the windows. It really looks good. How about the east, west, and north side? Are those gonna be restored like in kind?
We're gonna be working on them. We need to look at what's going on over there. We're gonna have to repoint it. We're gonna have to do new windows there as well. So we're looking at redoing the whole building. The focus on that south side is because of the storefronts, and we're also gonna be addressing that for potential storefront funding through.
And the west side is quite visible also from the streets.
Correct,
And
so
coming
that-
up Pleasant Street, so is that gonna be restored also?
Yes, correct. That would be part of that whole front facade type of thing.
Okay, because I guess there's a kind of a block wall on there, brick block wall, that's all going to be redone, or was that part of the original structure? You know?
That's a good question. I'd have to go and do some research on that. But yeah, we're gonna have to clean it all up and bring it back. So I mean, you can't just, if you got two sides that are visible from the street, you're gonna need to address both sides.
Yes, correct. That was my question.
Yes, they'll be addressed.
Or reason for my question. All right, thank you.
What's the total number of apartments?
14 plus 9, so we're looking at 25.
14 plus 9, okay, yeah, okay. And will they be, what's the demographic makeup, or will they be market rate, affordable, a mixture, workforce?
Ron, can you come on and address that, please?
Let me turn my volume up.
The volume's off.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
If you could state your name and your affiliation with the project, please?
Donald Oliveira, I'm the owner of the building. Both buildings, actually.
Okay, for the next one, okay. What is the makeup of the building? Is it in terms of what kind of apartments? Are they market rate, workforce?
Market rate.
All market rate, okay.
Market rate. Yeah.
I guess when we look at the potential of the handicap ones that we could probably look at and consider those, they could be market rate, but those will probably be going towards the affordable area potentially.
The accessible units?
Yes.
Well, as a percentage that's required, are you going before the CPC for funding as a historic building or as housing?
Right now, we applied for both, so we're gonna have to address those numbers.
There's a number, a given number for
Correct.
housing, okay, which
Yes.
is quite high. Not high, it's just, it's good, it's a good number, but it's,
I didn't have any other questions regarding, the renderings are, very helpful, because one thing that, so the Flint Village is not, it's not in a national registered district at all, something that we hopefully one day would like to address and have that surveyed. But the building itself is listed on the National Register, which, so there, will you also be seeking historic tax credits at all, or are you not using that?
That's something that the owner's gonna have to address.
Okay. Ron, are you going after historic tax credits as well?
I think It's muted again.
There he is.
They are available, yeah, we've got the time, but,
Okay.
okay.
So the,
Wait, so is that a yes?
if they are available,
Yes.
okay. So for that process, that they've already closed the eligibility round, so I believe that reopens, when does that reopen?
They have the deliberations are in January.
For historic tax credits.
Oh, for tax credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's
wait.
quarterly. I thought.
Yeah.
It's, so we meet with them.
November?
We'll
Is
be
it this
meeting in
month?
January. So if you are going after historic tax credits, that's, one thing I would recommend is to contact the Massachusetts Historical Commission, because they oversee not only the state tax credits, the historic tax credits, for the program, but they are basically the liaison with the National Park Service for federal. And I can't remember when the opening is for submissions. So I believe we're in the middle of all that right now. So I wanna say it might be in March or April, I believe, when the materials due. But they can guide you through the process. If you are going through tax credits, because that would also require a letter of support from us, but it's up to a 20% reimbursement or credit for qualified rehabilitation expenses. So on the project.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
We'll start looking into it.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions at all?
All right, I'll make a motion that we give a letter of support.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All right, so I have a motion by Rick, seconded by Connie for a letter of support for CPA grant funding in regards to item number 7. May I get a roll call vote?
Yes.
Joyce, Connie,
Yes.
Rick,
Rick Mancini, yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Ashley,
Yes.
and Jason Bouchard and Rocky, yes. All right, thank you. And so you're gonna be here for item 8. So item number 8 is the Furtado Narragansett Cash Apartment Building, 1616 to 1622 Pleasant Street. A letter of support request for CPA grant funding.
Okay, so, again, Armando Pereira Comprehensive Design and Build Services. So here we've got a building that, right now has a fence around it because, it needs to be repointed. It's a historical building as well. Beautiful building, I've been inside. Unfortunately, we've had a roof cave in there that we've got to, get in there and repair the roof, so it doesn't cause any more damage. We're also looking to do storefront on that whole building. You actually have some colored renderings on that one. This particular building, we're gonna keep the 2 storefronts down below, and we are converting 6 apartments into 12 apartments. And we're looking to do, the 2-bedroom units, and we're looking to put in an elevator in the back on this one here, so, because of the way that the building code requires that on 4 or more, you'd have to put in an elevator. So.
Is that in the building, or you said on?
No. So
On
what
the
happens
back?
is that building actually has a protrusion in the back that looks like a set of stairs that we actually want to kind of like encase it in there. So we would have our stairs going right down the middle. It's going to take a little bit of reconfiguration in that particular project, but we're looking to keep it as that. That particular building or building site, which I did send over, we're actually going to be able to even put some off-street parking in the back of it for potential handicap compliant. Again, this is a rehab and community housing. We're gonna have to talk about how many units, potentially for any low income. Other than that, if I'm correct, we'd be looking at probably all those units being market rate.
Okay.
The building does need, I'll tell you, I just saw the numbers and I was a little taken back. It does need to be repointed because there's been a lot of damage to that building due to water infiltration, and in the olden days, they weren't required to have an airspace between the widths of brick, so you get the moisture getting in between the widths of brick. The nice thing about that building is it has a whole steel skeleton, and that at one point was a paint store, so when you start looking at the loading that you would have, you'd have to have a structure for it. So Again, we're here asking for a letter of support because I think both of these buildings are actually very viable and they're beautiful. And I think if we don't work to restore and rehab these buildings, we're gonna lose a valuable piece of history. So it would be really, really valuable to the community as well.
Yes, I agree. I
Yes.
said I agree.
Um,
Just on the question of the collapse of the roof it doesn't look that major, is it minor or?
So I didn't provide you with an aerial. If you go onto Google Earth, you actually see the middle. It's like a hole in the middle, like a donut, and that water is coming right down.
Right down into the basement?
Exactly, because I get to the point in the building, I couldn't really walk inside. I don't think I put any pictures in there to the building commissioner, but I cannot access the basement because the stairs collapsed. So, and I didn't feel like jumping down there, having to call the fire department to bail me out, so.
The structural portion of the building is still maintaining its full integrity, is what you're saying?
Yes. So that building has steel beams going from side to side. It's got
Correct.
4 columns in the middle. And then what happens is that and I think this is why the brick hasn't collapsed, is the steel frame that's on the outside. So it's almost like that building got a whole skeleton put together and then there was infill. So you can, on the inside of the building where it's exposed, you can actually see the beams that are wrapping the building on the inside. The collapse, the roof collapsed, the 3rd floor, it's real spongy. 210 pounds, I was questioning if I was gonna come out without putting another hole in the floor, so. But it needs a lot of tender loving care, so this is another project that's gonna cost quite a bit. New windows, new storefront, as you see in the renderings, and it's great that you have somebody that's willing to take that on and actually bring it back to life with the city.
Yes, correct. Again, are you applying for historic or housing on this, or both?
We're applying for both.
On the historic timeline, someone provided us with the information. So it's April 30th, August 31st, and January 15th. So if they, and for the taxes, for the tax credits.
It's
Yeah.
April 3rd.
30th.
30th, August 31st, and January 15th. And if the deadline lands on a weekend or a state-observed holiday, the deadline will be the next business day. And it sounds like it would be lucrative to look into it,
Absolutely.
considering the work that needs to be done.
So the tax credit program is, we have a number of mills in Fall River that have utilized that program. The company that I work for in Providence has utilized that program, rehabbing commercial buildings into mixed use. So it's an excellent program, especially when we have that program still in place. For an area like the Flint Village, like I said, it's not, the whole area is not on the National Register, the building is, so that this is a good use of, that would be a good program to, same thing with CPA, to help rejuvenate building by building the Flint Village. There's a lot of work being done right now in the mills. I believe all of them have been rehabbed except for the Flint Mill, which we've reviewed. We provided letters of support for the rehab of that one, and that's a significant project. I believe about 400 apartments, just around the corner from these 2 buildings. So there's a lot of interest, but all of that is using historic tax credit, the historic tax credit program. So I can talk all day about that, but this is all excellent. Any other questions at all?
I just have a quick question. Do you have a timeline on this as to what you expect to happen in the next 2 or 3 years, 5 years?
So one of the things, once we get the ball rolling, again, we can't do anything until, as the rules say, can't start anything until we get approvals. But once we get that going, I mean, one of the things that I can talk about with the developer is that he'll start at it and he'll keep just chewing at it and, you know, until it gets completely done. So it's not anything that is gonna stay, you know, open for 10, 12 years. He just wants to get it done, and so do I, because that means I'm married to it until it's completely done. But it's a beautiful thing to bring it back. So the quicker we can get on it.
I know, I
quick-
pass by there every day, I'd love to see it. Love to see it done and love to see people living in the building.
There you go. Thank you.
If you were to close the building, if you were attempting to repair the roof, that would not infringe about with anything to do with the CPC.
Okay.
CPC is what you're going for funding for. And if you wanted to tomorrow or next week start to close in the building, make it watertight, that would not affect your funding.
So that would be almost kind of like an emergency repair.
Well, it's, yes, and it's outside of the bounds of what the CPC funding would be.
Okay.
Because they're funding housing, or they're funding the historic portion of rehab of the home, not the roof per se. So you could go in there and tighten up the building, and that would not be an infringement. So don't let that hold you back to protecting the building this winter.
Good information to have.
Thank you, Rick. I have no other questions, so they're seeking letter of support.
I'll make a motion that we issue a letter of support
I'll
for
second the motion.
1622.
All right. We have a motion by Rick, seconded by Connie for a letter of support for CPA grant funds for item number 8. Roll call votes. Joyce?
Yes.
Connie?
Yes.
Rick?
Mancini, yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Thank you so much. I will, because of the holiday and everything is due on the 2nd, I will be sending out letters tonight. Usually when I send out support letters, I also do include Sandy Dennis in the email, so the CPC readily has the material.
Okay.
But I'll include you.
Very good. I'd like to thank everybody on the board, and I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
And
Thank you
same
very much.
to
Thank
you,
you.
you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
I think you can get off now, right?
Yep. All right, there we go. Okay, so, perfect. Thank you, everyone. So, item number 9, we have a request for a letter of support for our CPA grant funding from the Fall River Preservation Society in regards to the Form B assistance for the Historic District expansion.
I will be recusing myself for this
Thank you.
section.
Hello.
Hello. Alexander Silva, 148 Purchase Street, President of the Board of Directors of the Fall River Preservation Society. I'm here to answer whatever questions you have about the project. I think the Commission is generally familiar with it, since the intent of this application is for the Preservation Society and the Historical Commission to work hand in hand with the existing Fall Rivers Highland Local 40C Protected Historic District in the Highlands, and expanding that from the progress made on its initial foundation almost 10 years ago.
Right, it'll be, 2025 will be 10 years.
Yep,
since
next year's the Annie.
Adoption of the 40C. So what the Preservation Society is doing, so they will be, ultimately, Form Bs have to be updated across, they really should be updated across the city. Especially for those that have not been updated since the 1980s. And it's a fantastic tool, even if it's not for a project like this, so we have an idea of the historic resources in Fall River, a little bit more of the history, and it's a good educational tool as well, and if there's the need for additional historic districts. And so this, they are doing we'll be overseeing that project of getting a consultant to survey the neighborhood, the target area, and then providing the updated Form Bs that will be provided to the state as well as the letter, or the study report, I think.
Yeah, so I can just kind of read so we're getting cost estimates from a couple consultants back for the application, but the scope of services will be for the consultant to help the Preservation Society and Historic Commission conduct public outreach efforts, including at least one public meeting in the future, engaging in the required research for the Form Bs, submitting it to the Massachusetts Historical Commission, and then completing a report that'll be available to the public and all relevant bodies on the expansion of the Highlands 40C district and recommendations on the district boundaries. As you know, we have over 30 responses of interested people, so it looks like it will be expanding, hopefully in some way.
And we do have, at our October meeting, we did vote to amend the target area. We've expanded it just a little bit up Highland Avenue to the north to include 17 additional properties. So the target area went from 150 to 167, give or take, one or two properties. But for the target area that the surveys have been sent out to, the second round of surveys will be sent out shortly. In regards to, and also for a little background too, the Preservation Society had in the past sought CPA funding for the design guidelines, which we worked with, and that was adopted or published in 2020.
Last year was the public release. Available on the city website, I think the Historic Commission page, Community Preservation Committee page.
So this is a similar process with, for this.
Yep.
It seems a little odd that that you need a letter of support from the Historical Commission
Can't hurt.
for something that we are working on, but this is what was done in the past as well, so.
Again, I'll make that motion that we supply a letter of support, just an added insight on this. We're presently doing Form Bs with CPC money in Steep Brook and on the Bioreserve, and the value of that, those determinations and reporting and knowledge and things of the city, it's so valuable, that what an asset it is for the future of Fall River. So I can't speak enough about getting these forms and getting this type of educational set in the city.
Yeah. As Jason and Rick said, it's really a community tool and resource. People use it, for family history or just like community pride, I like to say, when, just trying to learn more about where you live. It's often one of the first concrete pieces of research that people start with for, significant more expansion of research. So it really is like a foundational piece of history going forward for all generations.
For the research aspect too, if the properties were not documented, especially with a city like Fall River, where a lot of the building records were lost to different moves from different city halls and buildings burning, like the whole downtown burned down in the 20s, multiple times it burned. So sometimes it's almost like you have to go through just the newspaper records or other means of finding different primary documents to back up your research outside of City Hall. And we have, for example, in the Highlands, we have every summer there's an architectural historian group that comes in. It's they come from all over the world, about 30 or 40 of them. It's for the Victorian Society of America. They have a summer school in Newport every summer, and they always come up to Fall River. They tour Rising Sun because it was designed by Ralph Adams Cram, very well-respected architect, and they tour that house. They also tour the neighborhood around that house. So the fact that we have international eyes on parts of our city is good, and if we have additional research done, we can have it's good for tourism, and we have that type of info. So, all right, so we have a motion by Rick for letter of support, thank you. And, sorry, who was that?
It was Ashley.
Ashley, okay, thank you. Motion by Rick, seconded by Ashley for letter of support for item number 9. Roll call votes. Joyce?
Yes.
Rick?
Rick Mancini, yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard-Naraki, yes. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks. Have a good holiday.
You too, thank you.
Thank you.
You also enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Item number 10, it was an inquiry, didn't really fall under correspondences, but for discussion purposes, a resident within the 40C, the Highlands 40C, had emailed asking about the possibility of a park adoption in one of the Olmsted Triangular Parks, bounded by Highland Avenue, High Street, Maple Street. So this is the little triangular park that has the sign that says Welcome Historic Highlands. I guess there was some issues with the landscaping. It stemmed from a very large amount of poison sumac, and overgrown shrubs, and just general, not neglect, but just things were not properly taken care of. And the other triangular park further north on Highland Avenue, Highland, Belmont, and Prospect Street was adopted by, I think,
Dennis.
the Dennis's, one of their nonprofits, I can't remember, but, so I don't know, so this is for discussion if we know if that park,
That's
the
the
first
Jersey.
the Durfee Green, bless you,
Yes,
if
Durfee
it
Green.
has it been, do we know if it's been adopted by
No,
an
it has
organization?
not.
So that would be for maintenance and landscaping, and so it's kind of almost taking the load off of the city in a way.
So many, many years ago, the
Mhm.
Preservation Society did clean it up. That's when the bench was installed, some trees were planted, and there's an actual Olmsted, it exists, the Olmsted planting,
Mhm.
the whole plan, the
Mhm.
blueprint
Right.
for that green. And so we started that, the Preservation Society started doing that.
Mhm.
There was some pushback from neighbors regarding the cherry trees, which are not original to the park.
Are
But
they still there?
They are, but they break, they really are. I mean, they look beautiful for that split second, and then they're no, you know. But anyhow, and then during Arbor Day, and, who was the lady that passed away, she was, I can't think of her name now. She,
The tree person?
yes,
Yeah.
she did the tree
Right.
plantings.
Yeah, I forget her name also.
Yeah, I can't think of her name, but anyways, she passed away, and so that kind of went by the wayside, and, but that's how I know that no one has technically adopted
Okay.
the park. We did have the sign redone by Diamond.
Oh, okay.
The park was cleaned. I received that same phone call,
Mhm.
and within the day, the Parks Department went,
Yep.
cleaned, got rid of as much as the poison sumac as possible,
Mhm.
and trimmed the trees. The sign is now visible again.
Mhm.
And it looks very nice. It was done up very quickly.
Yeah.
And if it gets to that condition or starts to grow out of hand, again, it's a quick call to the
Yeah.
Parks Department, and they are very responsive for that area.
I did email the Parks Board, I think it was the Parks Board, asking what the process was, because of just, and I did explain that it is the gateway, essentially the gateway to the Highlands National Register District, and,
I mean, the Historical Society is right there.
right there.
It's just like really.
Yeah, there's a number of work, yeah, and so if it's a matter of, I don't know what the process is to have a park adopted, but, I don't know if that's something that the park board has to put out like a proposal for, or, is there some, I don't know if it can.
Is that to have a group maintain that
Right.
park area?
Right.
Okay.
Because I think with the other park is very well maintained, over by Little Theater. That one's
It's
very
the
well maintained.
Francis Green, right?
I think so,
Green.
Francis Green. And if we are successful with the expansion of the 40C, those will be part of the 40C, because we did include Highland Avenue as the boundary. So, yeah, but I don't know. They wanted to know if there's anything that the Historical Commission can do. I said we will discuss it for that purpose, just so we have, we can put it out there, then, somebody has to, I guess, contact, is it Nancy?
Nancy Smith,
Nancy
yes.
Smith.
Very, very responsive. As I said, within the day it was done.
Do you have a good relationship?
Very, very good relationship.
May I task this with you, task this on you to see if there is any interest in having that park adopted?
Sure.
Or what that process is?
Yeah, I will work on that, actually, well, better not, tomorrow's the day before thing.
Yeah, no,
I will
don't
get
do that.
on it on Friday.
Okay. 'Cause there are a number of nonprofits in the area. There's the Historical Society, the art association's around the corner. Deaconess Home has a lot of property around there. The school department's over there too. So there's a bit.
And they're fully aware of that, and that's why the response was so quick. And when we found that, when it was brought to their attention, I mean, they're short-staffed in reality, and there's so much to attend to.
Yep.
So, but the minute they received the phone call, it was immediately
Okay.
taken care of.
Thank you.
And yes, I'll get on that, and I'll report at the next meeting.
Thank you. And then, so I am interested to know what the process is too,
Mhm.
just, yeah. Right, thank you. Any other questions on that one, on that item? So item number 11, I received the acceptance letter, the signed acceptance letter for 253 Alden Street, which is the Espiritu Santo School. It's not in your packets, just because it's just a signed letter, but oops, it's right here. So they signed it on October 10th. This was a historical commission nomination, so they have accepted, but we do need to approve the acceptance of that into, I guess, right? Do we have to, because we nominated it and not the property owner?
We still have to go through a motion to accept it.
Yep,
Yes.
okay, yes, okay. So on that note, so this will be added to the Register of Significant Structures. I think they eventually will be looking at National Register designation as well, which is good. So may I get a motion to accept the nomination, the acceptance of the nomination?
I'll make a motion to accept the nomination.
Thank you.
And I'll second that
All right.
motion.
I have a motion by Connie, seconded by Rick, to accept the nomination confirmation for 253 Alden Street. Roll call, Joyce?
Yes.
Connie?
Yes.
Rick?
Rick Mancini, yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. All right, thank you. So that was accepted today. Thank you. Next up, Rick, under old business, do we have, for item number 12, an update on the Form Bs for the Steep Brook and Bioreserve?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great.
That's some good reports. The Steep Brook area is coming to a conclusion. There's going to be, anybody who's, let's say, all invited, December 10th at 12:30 over at Roger Williams University. And if you're interested, just give me a call. I'll line it all up so we can all go in mass. There's going to be a presentation. The students are going to be making their presentation to the professor. It'll take about, I think they've got an hour and a half or an hour and three-quarter for the presentation to be made. And at that point, Professor Stiles will grade the students, and that's all well and good, but then she's going to put all of the documentation together and make another presentation to us as she did back in March or April of last year.
Great.
So yes, it's coming. The investigations have been done. They spent a tremendous amount of work. The building department went beyond support. They let them in, helped them with the old files. The building
good.
department was great. The registry of deed was also very, very helpful, and the library, of course. Unfortunately, the Michael Martin's is still, the Historic Society is still not available. The records are still in packets, so they were unable to dig out information from those records, but they were more than willing to help if the records were available. So that's good. The bioreserve is fully documented, and what they're
Wow.
doing,
That's
and
fast.
they're in the process now of starting to pull the data together, but all of the sites up in the bioreserve have been viewed. I guess there were a few others that were noticed or found that were not in our original proposal, and they included those. So there's a meeting coming up shortly. I don't have a date yet
Okay.
because Holly hasn't given that to us.
Mhm.
But we're gonna get a date shortly when they're gonna get together and start to present some of this documentation to see how we want it pulled together. But I'm sure we'll have something in the late winter, early spring, full
That's great.
documentation. But all of the actual
That's fast.
trotting through and looking at the sites is completed. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it
That's
really
fantastic.
is. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Regarding the Historical Society, I did hear from Caroline Aubin, who's the registrar. They should have, it's because of the Christmas season, they just reopened their store. The museum's still closed, but the store's open. After the holidays, they anticipate having access to their archives like mid-late winter, early spring, just as a heads up. So I told her, I said, we have people waiting to get in, that we have applicants that are doing tax credit projects and they need additional resources, and they, it's it's causing a little bit of an issue. They've been closed for a while now.
Yeah. And she did, when I spoke to Carolyn, she did actually physically look through what archives were available for the
Oh, that's good.
Steep Brook. And she did get back to me and she said, so sorry, it's still being packed. And they were in the process of, pulling that data out and organizing it. So they're working hard at it.
They are. It's a crew of 3 people over there, and they're doing a lot. Thank you for the update. That's excellent. Thank you, Rick. Any questions on that item at all? 13 Highlands Local Historic District expansion. So obviously we had Alex here earlier. The addresses and ownership of those 17 additional properties were finished. I was going to send an email over to, just so they're aware, to Dan Aguirre, the mayor, et cetera, just letting them know that we did add those properties. I just wanted to get the list of the owners up first, because they were looking for that the last time we had done this, just so they're not caught off guard. But and then from there, so I have everything that I do in terms of like all the files you access on OneDrive, just for ease. But I do have a Google form that I've drafted with the questionnaire that we sent out to the homeowners the first time. So that's drafted. Everyone in the district will get a second survey or a second letter. If they've already filled it out, great. If they haven't, then they can go to a website link which will bring them to the Google form. They can do that and it'll just go into a spreadsheet, and I just have to wait for things to come in. Yeah, it's so much easier. What the state gave us was all antiquated. It was all paper surveys. So I still plan on, when I send out the material, it'll be a simple letter, but they will also have access to, I'll send the little pamphlet that says, what is it, there's a difference between a national register and a local historic. Frequently asked questions, right? So, but aside from that, there's no other changes. I did get one extra survey back. What's the address? 274 Prospect, I think it was, and so it was all positive, so that's good. So yeah. Aside from that, there's no other update. I know Alex was meeting with. He said he has some companies that they're looking at for the consultants, and that's part of the reason why I contacted Caroline at the Historical Society, is to find out when these archives will be opened up, because they will need to get in. So that's it. That's all I have. So before our next meeting, I will have the surveys will be sent out. Carrie's ready, and then we'll go from there. So it should be pretty easy. And so one thing I did forget to mention regarding the CLG designation, so the state pays for our membership to the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions, NACP. And then any board members become members of the NACP, which is good. So there's different seminars and tutorials and professional, a professional network of preservation boards, commissions that are part of the CLG. So that's all, or the NACP. So that's all included in our membership, which is great. So
And how do we get put on that list?
you'll be receiving an email. So I was going through and I'm like, ooh, I forgot to mention that. So that's all I have.
That's great.
So our next meeting is, I think, December 17th. I think that's correct. Let me just double check. Tuesday, December 17th. So we will be meeting, and I will send out the updated renderings, which are much better for 710 High Street. We did approve their certificate of appropriateness pending updated renderings and no questions from us. So I will send it. If there's any questions, let me know, then we'll bring them back for another meeting. But if there are no questions, then I'll give them the certificate. So on that note, may I get a motion to adjourn at 7:17 p.m.?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
And I'll second that motion.
You sounded hesitant.
Well, I was looking around, I was looking if any lips were moving.
All right, so I have a motion by Elizabeth, seconded by Rick to adjourn. Roll call, Joyce,
Yes.
Connie,
Yes.
Rick,
Rick Mancini, yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Thank you very much, everyone.